Hello everybody, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my best slash favorite books of 2021. It was very difficult to pick this list. I'm just kidding. There was like barely any 5 stars this year, and these are the books that throughout the year you've probably heard about a lot from me because I've obviously discussed them quite often, and I read most of these earlier in the year, so you've definitely heard about them from me. I feel like we should just get into it. So we have 10 favorite books and then 5 honorable mentions that I had to add. I think we're gonna start with the honorable mentions and then we'll get into my top 10. The top 10 are not in order because I could never put them in order. They're just in the top 10 are the top 10. Anyways, to start with the 5 honorable mentions of this year, we first start with The Push. This book is like a psychological thriller about a mom who has a daughter and she's convinced that the daughter hates her. And it's kind of like throughout the book, you're like, does the daughter hate her or is she just kind of imagining this? And that sounds stupid. I know that sounds like a very overdone thriller plot, but it's not. It was so good, and the ending, the last page of the book was so good, and honestly just seeing like motherhood for this character, like it solidifies my decision of like never wanting kids. I want to say more, but I don't know if it's a spoiler, and I want this video to be completely spoiler free because this is like, if you watch any of my videos and you want recommendations, this is the video. Read every single thing that's in this video, okay? So yes, The Push, love it, but I didn't give it 5 full stars because I don't know. That's a good question. The next honorable mention is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I had to add this just because I love the feels of this book. It feels like the cover. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but it's vampires. It takes place in the 1800s of New Orleans, and there's vampires. Vampires in New Orleans really works for me. I love it. I love the writing. I love the setting. I loved the creepy character. I loved the main characters, everything. And even the audiobook. The audiobook was so good. I feel like that added so much to the book that I listened to the audiobook. It has to do with this girl. She is fleeing her hometown or her home place, whatever, and she's going to New Orleans, and there starts to be like a string of murders, and they just try and go and figure out who the heck is killing a bunch of people. So wonderful. The next book on the honorable mentions is the Southern Book The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I originally gave this book 4 stars, but I don't think about 4 stars this often because I've been thinking about this book for months, and I read it like the day before school started, and still like it's on my mind. I love this book so much. It's like a small town, middle-aged mothers, and this random dude comes into town, and like there starts to be like some murders. I loved that it was middle-aged moms, like, and the guy obviously that comes into town, it's not really a spoiler because it says it in the synopsis, but this dude is a creature. I don't know, it's perfect. Actually, it's not perfect. One thing I will say about this book, it is so difficult to remember who is who of the mothers. You really have to pay attention. I can't remember one of their names, and I couldn't tell you ever who's who. Like, it's fine. It didn't really matter. It's fine. Next honorable mention is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I had never read a book that talked about this topic quite as in depth as I read this. I just felt like it was very different than I thought it was going to be in the ending because the character decides something that's like very difficult. I don't know. I just really enjoyed how it was told a different way than I had read previously, which I love it. And I would totally read this again, 100%. It's my second favorite Colleen Hoover. That's why it's in the honorable mentions. My first favorite is in the top 10. If you somehow haven't read this book still, I would recommend it if you're okay with like, if you read the trigger warnings and like you're okay with it. Okay, the last book on the honorable mentions is The Way I Used to Be. This book, it's about this girl who has this very traumatic experience when she is, I don't remember the age, but I think it's right before she goes into high school, and it kind of just messes with her the entire time she's in high school. So it goes through every single year of high school, and you see how different she's become every year and like how she's trying to process this traumatic event in her life through these years. And I was crying. I was crying through this book. In the end, she kind of had a break and she's like, what am I doing? What is going on? Like, I'm really struggling, and I really liked that part of it. Again, along with It Ends With Us. It's very hard to read, and so I would definitely be mindful of that before you read it, but it's really good. Okay, it is time for the top 10 of 2021. The first book, of course, is Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. Let me just tell you what this is about because I feel like I've never explained it. So it's basically about two people. One of them is named Calypso and the others is named Desmond. And Desmond is like the, what is he called? Oh, he's called the Bargainer. The series is called the Bargainer. Oh my god. Desmond is called the Professional. He's not called the Professional. Desmond is called the Bargainer. He's like a very well-known criminal basically because he's on the most wanted list that they have. And Callie, Calypso, she's called Callie. She works as like a private investigator, I think, or like something where she like interrogates people and gets them to confess what they did because she has powers, because she's a siren. So that's like present day, and like it goes back years to when Calypso was younger. So they first meet when she calls the Bargainer for something, and when she asks for this favor, she gets like a bead. She ends up asking for a bunch of favors, and I'm not gonna tell you what they are. You will have to read, but there's a lot of them, which is insane because you don't even want to have one from this dude. They have that encounter and like they become really close friends, and then he just like drops off the face of the earth for 7 years, and she's like, what the heck? Pure enjoyment and happiness for the entire 326 pages of this book. But emotionally I went through it because I was crying hysterically for, I would say, 87% of this book. The next book you're all expecting is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Of course, in my top 10. First, dark academia that I actually love. So this is a like very dark secret society type book that takes place at Yale. She gets asked to be a part of this, I don't know what you call it. Is it a secret society? Like, I guess that's considered, yes. They work with like supernatural and ghosts called Greys, and she can just see them. And she's seen them her whole life. And I think that's why they took like notice of her, because she can just see them without any enhancement. And like the other people, they have to take things to be able to see these, and she can just naturally see it, which did cause a lot of her trauma when she was a kid. And then later on, when she gets there, there's like murders, and it's also dual timeline. So we get Darlington, his POV, and the present day is Alex. Oh, also Alex, her name is Galaxy. Interesting. But I love it. Darlington and a galaxy. What? But yes, I would 100% reread this, but I do really need to see what happens. I'm going insane every single day. The next book we have is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. The most pretty, beautiful, gorgeous, descriptive world that I've ever had the privilege of reading. My alarm just went off. I need to just delete all these alarms. But anyways, as we were saying, this book holds my favorite character in the whole Caraval universe, which is Jax, and we meet Jax in the Caraval original trilogy. The fact that he got his own book, when I read the synopsis for this and it said Jax, I was like, it didn't actually say Jax, I think it said the Prince of Hearts, but we all know. Anyways, what this book is about, I will surely tell you. So the main character of this, her name is Evangeline, and she is in love with this guy, and this guy randomly is like, I'm gonna marry your sister. Whoa. And then she goes and she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, which is a fate, Jax, and it's to like stop the wedding. So after that, they are kind of just like bonded, because not bonded like emotionally, but like because of the deal. In return for this, he takes 3 kisses, which is like, I don't know how to explain it, because it's like she's not kissing him. I don't want to spoil anything, but it has to do with other people, and it has to do with some mysterious reasons. And guys, let me add something. Spoiler time. There's vampires. What? Who was gonna tell me there were vampires? I don't want to tell anybody who hasn't read that hasn't read it because I feel like it's honestly a wonderful surprise. Next is a book I don't own, unfortunately, and that is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This was so unexpected because the beginning is kind of slow, but it gets so entertaining. So basically, this is about Misha and Ryan. They are pen pals, and they're pen pals because when they were, I don't remember, they were in school at some point when they were younger, and the teachers were pairing up boys and girls, and Misha and Ryan, like, they're very neutral names, so they got paired up because they were like, I don't know, here you go. And so now they are pen pals, and they've been pen pals for years. As they're growing up, they just continue to write letters to each other, and they become really close friends, but they decide, like, we're never gonna show each other what we look like, we're never gonna show where we live, we're never gonna meet up and stuff. So they do that, and then I don't really remember how this happens, but somehow Misha, which is the guy, sees her at a party. I don't quite know, but he begins to hate her because of how she acts, because she is like popular at school.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure the real reason I feel like Sherilyn and Zoe can see me. Ooh, I just popped my nail off. Ow, that's an acrylic. Anyway, they're on here. I feel like they can see and hear me. They can't. So, another reason why he hates her is because of the specific thing that they had happen. That's, I think, a spoiler, but it has to do with his sister, his little sister, and that's another reason that why he has such strong hatred. That's all I'm going to say about this book because I don't want to spoil anything else. Just go read it. It's good.
But it's a very fun time and I recommend. The 5th book on my list is Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. This is the best book she's ever written. Honestly, I don't think it is. It's probably not the best book she's ever written. It's very messy. There are so many plot lines that I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna go in this book completely blind, but oh my god, it's such a flop. Anyway, I'm gonna reread this again in the next couple days so that I can tap it because I finally got this. But I read this book twice this year, last year, whatever. 2021, because it was fantastic, and I hysterically cried both times. Like, this is one of those books that's like, did they write me as the main character? But I felt so understood reading inside this character's head. Like, I felt this is my book. Like, if I were to say which character I relate to most in the entire earth, it would be her. So this very messy family, you are in the head of Merit, who has her own issues. You kind of observe every other one of her family members' issues through Merit's eyes. We have no idea why they have their issues, but we see her reaction and how she's like internalized everything that they're doing. And then also there is like a romance. It's not very, I don't know, I would say it's not really a focus of the book. Kind of is though. It's mentioned a lot. It's like definitely a thing throughout the whole book, definitely. The guy actually helps her a lot. The guy, his name is Sagan. He's definitely a person that helps her get through some of the stuff she's going through, but it's not the highlight of the book, guys. It's not. I was not being sarcastic there. It's not the highlight. But anyway, I don't know. I don't want to say anything else. I went into this book completely blind. I did not know what this was. It is so good. Please read it. I need more people to talk about this with. So if any of you have read this and like it, if you don't like it, I don't want to talk to you, but if you like it, I would like to talk to you. The next book is a Brandon Sanderson, and it is Warbreaker. One of my first adult fantasies, and honestly has made me so excited for this genre. It's it's about two sisters. One of them has been trained her entire life to go and be the queen to the God King and have a kid. Basically, that's her entire purpose. But the father decides, let's not send my favorite child. Let's send this child who doesn't listen. She has no clue what she's supposed to do there. And he sends her instead. So she goes and has to be the bride of the God King and have his kids. Not his kids, just one, so that they can have an heir. And there's so much politics going on and all of that, but I loved it. And the world is his like brightest. Basically, Taylor trying to explain an adult fantasy is so not working. So breaths are a thing in this world where the more breaths you have, the more like vibrant you experience the world in general. So for example, the God King. So the God King has like 50,000 breaths is what Google says, which is an insane amount. And then there's also these people that have like previously died and been reborn. They're called the Return, and they're not as high as the God King, but they're like looked upon as these saviors of the world. And the one we follow is Lightsong, and I really like him. He's very funny. He's like, his whole thing is how he's not going to do his duty as a Return. He's just going to be like doing the least possible. But my favorite character is Siri. She's the one that has to marry the God King. I really like her. Okay, the 7th on my list is Zodiac Academy, The Reckoning. So much went down in this book. It just has to be my favorite. So many, like, I will admit the romance is what made this book as good as it was. A lot of it had to do with what was going on in the world, because a lot happened in this book, but also had to do with like the romance, of course. This book has really good romance. Let's just say that. And I'm mostly talking about Darcy's romance. Tori's, it was very messy until the previous book, What actually got more messy? Yeah, I'm not talking about Tori, I'm talking about Darcy. Tori's was a mess, and it still is. That's all I'm gonna say about this book, because it's the third in a series, so it's kind of hard to talk about because I can't really explain anything. Next we have These Violent Delights. I just got the audiobook for Our Violent Ends, so I will be reading that very soon. These Violent Delights is about two warring gangs. Let me see if Taylor can remember what they're called. It's just, one of them's like the Scarlet Gang, right? And the other's the, is it the White Rose? I don't think so. Guys, I was so close. One of them is the Scarlet Gang. The other one is the White Flowers. I was so close. I basically got that right because roses aren't flowers. Anyways, they're like opposite gangs. But what makes the real drama is that the kids of the main people in the gangs, I guess, Roma and Juliet, you know what makes me angry? Why did they say Roma and then they had her full name, Juliet? Why not make her name like Julie or something? Roma and Julie? That sounds stupid. I think she made a good decision there. But anyways, they used to be in a relationship and then drama, and now they're not. And now they hate each other, and I love it. You also get POVs from a lot of the other characters, but to be honest, I cannot remember. I have the worst memory with books. All I can remember is the feeling I had reading it and sometimes the like main plot. So all of these are just the feels. But I really liked the craft at which this was put together. See, that sentence was brilliant there. But all you need to see is the tabs. We have tabs, and then of course we have the favorite page. I put my favorite ones at the very top. Oh, and then the ending. I am the worst reviewer on the planet. I'm so sorry. I cannot for the life of me explain what a book is about. But read this, it's very good. Second to last is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I recently had my mom read this and it just made me realize I love this book. It is about a girl who, after her mom dies, she goes to this, like, I thought it was a college, but I think it's actually like a high school. When she's there, she witnesses like this monster. She witnesses this, and then someone attempts to wipe her memory and like it does not work. So now she just completely knows everything and she's just confused. Obviously, as you would be, I would be very confused, but I would also leave the school. But you know, bravery. This book is amazing. It's good. Read it. I have to explain though, what is it about? I gotta explain to you. I gotta make sure you read it. Okay. Magical school for people that are gonna fight things. They teach them. I'm dying. I just remember like scenes that are just, I remember random scenes in books like that are memorable and wonderful to me, but they have nothing to give to explain to you the plot of this book. I just remember like she has magic and she has to like try and figure out who she's gonna use it against because she doesn't really know what this society of people is about. There, that's all we're getting. The very last book on this list is Unhinged by A.G. Howard. This is the second book in the, is it the Splintered series? This is the second book, my favorite, because it has more of this character and less of the other one that I don't like. The other one, we do not state his name here. In the first book, stuff happens and she decides to leave Wonderland and live like normally, and she starts seeing this man all over and he won't leave her alone basically, and convinces her to go back. And so a lot of the book is just her deciding like where she's gonna go. Is she gonna be the queen of Wonderland, or is she going to stay in like the human world and live a human life? And it's wonderful. This book also, it would also be one of my top ones for setting. I just love the setting of like random weird but really descriptive worlds. When you say anything can happen, like they mean that. I love those kinds of books. So that is my top 10 plus honorable mentions of 2021. I hope you enjoyed. If you read and liked any of these, please let me know. If you somehow were convinced by my amazingly eloquent descriptions of these books, let me know. I feel like I did a disservice to many of these books because I wasn't able to describe them as well as I want to. I don't take notes when I read, and a lot of these were from the beginning of the year and I was just here for the vibes, you know? That's how it goes. I just am here. I don't critically look into books. I just am here. So you don't get a critical review. That's why I don't post review videos. Some people are cut out for it and others are not. And that's just how it works. Okay, I'm gonna go. I will see you in the next video. I hope you had a wonderful 2021 reading year. And I will see you in the next video.